Good evening, everybody. We are ready to roll tonight, and we have a big, powerful, profound webinar tonight. And let me tell you right now, there are a lot of people that need to be tuning in, and we have a big crowd tonight, and we're going to cover some tough, important, polarizing topics. So if you have any questions during the webinar, absolutely feel free to type those questions into the left-hand column. There's a chat bar. Type them in and I will absolutely answer them. I will. And with that being said, we're ready to roll. So the title of tonight's webinar is Discover What to Eat Pre and Post Workout to Catapult Your Success. And the reason I put this photo here of this girl's name is Alyssa, and she's been on board my programs for about probably 10 months now. And this photo here, I'm sorry guys, I'm sorry. All right, we're ready. This photo here was taken about 1.5, 2 months ago. So she's made even more progress in the last 1.5, 2 months since this photo. So we're going to get a new photo of her to put up soon, just because I'm proud of her and she's done awesome. But she's someone that ties in well with this title tonight, because with her, she's actually we've switched up her post-workout and pre-workout nutrition not monthly, but we've switched it up several times over the last 8 or 9 months. And it is important, but it's not the most important thing. But let's get into the webinar and let's talk about that. So the question I hear is, what should I have pre and post workout? What should I have? And there's 5 or 6 topics that we've broken this down into tonight, and I'm going to cover all of them in detail with one or multiple slides. So the first topic is, who is asking this question? Who specifically asks me this question so often? And I'm going to go, and when I say asks me, I mean post it on my Facebook page or emails it to me in a question. So who are these people that are asking? Well, we're going to talk about that. Number 2, why do they ask this question? Why do these people ask me? Well, we'll get into that as well. All right. Next up is, what is a typical pre- and post-workout disaster? Now, the reason I'm mentioning this is because, why are we talking about disasters or problems or mistakes? Here's why. Is because they're everywhere. 9 out of 10 people make these disasters. And they are disasters, make no mistake about it. So we're going to identify these and explain why they're wrong, why they're pernicious. And I've got real world excuses or rebuttals that real people have said that I'm going to surgically dissect, point by point. Number 4, and that's what I'm talking about. I'm going to have a point-by-point utter deconstruction and annihilation of the typical excuses you hear for eating junk food. And I put blood splatter because when I'm done with it, you're going to need to wipe your computer screen off and maybe wash your shirt, because there's going to be blood splattered across everywhere, because I'm going to literally rip these arguments from head to toe. Okay? And then we're going to finally talk about what is proper pre- and post-workout nutrition. What is it? And I'm a simplifier. I'm a simplifier. What does that mean? I mean, I want the simple way. I didn't say the easy way. I want the simple way. Now, the simple way may be easy, okay? But we want to reduce the complication, reduce the thinking, simplify it. That's what I am. That's what I do. And that's what most people like, right? So, yeah, we're ready. So, okay, who specifically asks the pre- and post-workout question? Who asks it? Who asks this question? Well, I'll tell you who. Women who are in the 25 to 35% body fat range are the number one niche, the number one demographic that asks me this question. Now, why is that important? Well, I'm going to explain why it's not important more appropriately. But let's talk about this more. Now, why do they ask me? Well, hold on. Often, let me back up a minute. These are also oftentimes the same women who ask, well, what type of protein powder I should use. And here's the thing, guys, is that these are and I'm not cutting these women down. They just don't know any better, and that's why we're here to educate. So let's get them on the same page. Basically, these women, these are women who have much larger nutritional issues at hand. If your house is on fire, are you going to mow your front yard? Well, no, you're going to put the fire out. Okay? If there's a problem, you're going to lay the foundation to the house before you paint the shutters. So you have women that are eating, just their diets are a train wreck. Okay? Their diets are a train wreck. And they're worried about what they should be eating pre and post workout. That's not your number one problem, ladies. What you're eating, that's not your number one problem. That's about number 15 or 20 on your priority list. Okay? You need to be worried about what you eat the other 5, 6 meals of the day. And how much of it you should eat. Now, does that make sense? Is that fair? Type in the left-hand column. Is that a fair response on my part? If I want you to be as successful as you can, we've got to prioritize your success. We've got to prioritize your actions. Yeah, Nicole says fair. So don't be mad at this when I tell you this response. I'm here to help. Okay? So we want to correct you in the right path. So these are the people that are asking. Now let's ask the next question here. And I put this on my Facebook page today, and it caused a peasant uprising of insubordination. I've never seen such insubordinates come out of the woodwork. And here's the analogy, guys, and it's tough love, but let's keep it real. And Donna says she had my back, and I appreciate that, Donna. I mean, you guys have commonsensical approaches, similar to me. So here's the thing, guys. If you have would you spend $2,000 on a stereo system for your car if the car was only worth $500? Why, Lord, no. Lord, no. We're gonna probably just buy a new car, but we're gonna fix the engine. We're gonna make sure we got fresh new tires on there. We're gonna make sure the AC's running. We're gonna do a whole litany of other things before we even worry about the sound system. That's the least of our worries. That's what it is, a pre and post workout. Is it important? Sure, there's a time and a place for it. Sure, it can make a difference. But the pre and post workout, that's the finishing touch. That's the finishing touch. If you're eating a whey shake for breakfast or a bowl of cereal, you don't have it. I mean, you're so far off the reservation, it don't even matter. Now let's move on. Now, why do they think this way? What would possess these women to ever think that? No cold, rational person would ever think, if your house is on fire, why would you ever want to mow your front yard? Well, let's talk about that. I'll tell you why. The multi-million-dollar supplement marketing campaigns. I've had news for you guys. The supplement company, it's a big business. It's like real big, and it's making a lot of companies filthy rich. And I'm gonna tell you right now, the people that design these campaigns and marketing schemes, they're not supplement folks. You know who they are? They're marketing geniuses. Okay. Just so we're clear, the supplement companies, and they're very smart, and that's why they hire copywriting gurus, marketing geniuses, and they nail the advertising across the board. Facebook, Carbon Dioxide Magazine, Muscle Fiction for Hers, all the women's newsstand magazines, websites, and I just said it, and I'll say it a second time, all over Facebook, whether it's a competitor's page or whether it's a supplement company page. Okay? And a lot of them now have pyramid scheme or MLM marketing plugged in, and it's a 400-pound rhinoceros that you can't stop. I can't stop it, but I can warn you. I can tell you to get out of the way. And it's your job to get out of the way or get steamrolled. You choose. Now, let's keep going here. So, here you got these multi-million-dollar expert marketing campaigns that are trying to sell supplements, and their whole idea is this. Let me be very clear, guys. Your health is not what they're selling. People don't spend money on their health. People aren't going to absorb debt for their long-term health. What they will absorb debt on and sacrifice and spend their last cent on is right here. Sex appeal, a more fit body, a more appealing body, an energetic, fit lifestyle. They'll sell out. They'll buy whatever they have to achieve that. And that's what these supplement companies do. They paint a picture of the sex appeal, fit bodies, fit, hot, energetic lifestyle. Now, I'm going to show you. I think it's on my next slide here. Not yet. And what happens is, when you show these ads, women take the bait, and some men too, but it's more powerful for women, and I'm going to show you why in a minute. Women take the bait hook, line, and sinker. Well, no, you're wrong. If I'm wrong, why do I have clinically obese women asking what they should be taking pre and post workout? If I'm wrong, why do we have women that don't even look like they exercise coming to me and saying, what should I be taking post workout? Are we on the same page here? Are we clicking? Am I the one that's out of line? Am I the one that's off base? I don't think so. Now, I'm going to show you an ad that's the most powerful fitness ad. Excuse me. It's a fitness ad, but it's selling a supplement. And it's targeted towards women and men too, but specifically women. A man could buy it, and I'm going to show it to you, and I'm going to describe to you point by point why it's so pernicious, and not so much pernicious, but powerful, and why I don't think there's a woman out there that can resist this. I really don't. Okay, here's the ad. Now, I've scribbled over the company name or the supplement name because I don't want to give them any pub, but I'm going to be brief on this. I could talk about this ad for 30 minutes, but we're going to condense it to about 2-3 minutes tops. So, when people binge, when people eat junk, when people eat filthy food, when people eat off their program, when they eat sweets, why do they do it? Every time they do it, every time a woman does that, it's because she said she's having what? Type it in if you know the answer. Type it in. If you know the answer to this, I'll be extremely impressed. When someone cheats on their diet, yes, Nicole said craving. What word right here is in capital letters and a different font? What word right here that I'm circling? It's crave. It's what Nicole just said. They're 2 steps ahead of you folks. Boom! Crave! Well, what does that matter? It's subliminal. It gets in your brain. This is what you call, and for the uninitiated people out there that think they know it all, let me give you a few key points about marketing here. This is what you call a trigger word, a hot button power word, or a trigger word. And guess what? Oh, it works. Now, well, I'm going to tell you right now, I've seen this girl, I know this girl's Facebook page, and this is a gorgeous, cutie little girl. And one thing about her, and guys and girls love her, and I'll tell you why. They love her body so much. It's because, and she's probably, I've only seen one other, I've never seen this girl in real life. Let me be clear on that. I don't know, but I've seen a zillion of her photos. But, and of course this photo's airbrushed, blah, blah, whatever, but this is the point I want to make about this girl. I've only seen one other girl in my life, and the other girl was in person, so I know for certain, that can pull off what this girl pulls off. Well, what is she pulling off? I'll tell you. What this girl can pull off, and she'll probably end up seeing this webinar at some point, is so extraordinary. She's one of only 2 girls in my life I've ever seen that has a lean, toned, fit body. The girl's got almost a 6-pack most of the time, but is soft. Can pull off a soft, feminine look and still have abs and still have pretty good muscle in her arms. No, she's not ripped. We're not saying that. But the point I'm making is very few women can have that soft, feminine look and still have enough definition that makes them look somewhat serious. Okay? Now, let's look at this photo here. Now, notice who in the world lounges across a countertop in their undies with a t-shirt pulled over their shoulder, hiked up about 4 inches above their belly? Well, here we all know this is strategically designed. Eating peanut butter with the "oops, you caught me," pursed lips and the guilty eyes, "up, you got me," at the camera. Now, I'm going to make one more point about this, then I'm going to get off, and this is the most powerful point. Now, she's in her underpants, her panties. Now, can you see the object, the imprint of the object on these panties? Can you see this? This is another subliminal trick, just like the capital letters in the word crave, or the word crave. Yes, Donna says cupcakes. Cupcakes are what? They're sweet. They're sweet. Why doesn't she have cupcakes on her t-shirt? Why doesn't she have cupcakes on the cabinet? Why does she have cupcakes on her panties? I'm going to keep this PG rated so I won't say anymore. But they're saying something on this girl is sweet. And they're using cupcakes. Donna says she's got sweet cheeks. Well, that's not all they're saying. But here's the point. Whether you notice this or not, this is just subliminally going to be picked up. So this is a sweet tooth, sweet cheeks, whatever you want to call it. It's every hot button, sweet, yummy food you can think of, all wrapped up in a sexual package, zipped up, and this will own. You know how many women are wearing a ball and chain because of this? How many women are owned by this supplement company? They have taken ownership of so many women because of these powerful, hard-hitting, trigger, power word marketing campaigns. Guys, I'm warning you. Guys, I can warn you, but you got to move out of the way, or the rhino, the rhinoceros, the steamroller will rip you up. Let's move on, guys. Okay, typical pre- and post-workout disasters. What does typical mean? I'll tell you. By typical, I mean commonplace. It's becoming a lot more commonplace now. This wasn't so much the case 10 years ago, or even 5-6 years ago, but in the last year or so, and you see that on Facebook, these like little militant, they're usually girls, and it's guys too, but girls and guys, I want to be fair on this, but girls especially will pick these filthy trash foods and say they're okay if you eat them post-workout. I don't know who made this up, or who figured it out, or who coined this term, or who did this, but it's not okay to ever eat this. Okay? I understand if it's Christmas, Halloween, Thanksgiving, a holiday, yeah, have a sweet treat. But we're talking about, they're saying it's good or effective to eat it in the post-workout window. Well, let's look at some of these. Number one, whey protein shake. Now, that's not a disaster, but it's woefully lacking in what the demographic, the niche. Guys, we're not talking about skinny high school kids. We're not talking about pro bodybuilders. This webinar is geared towards, for the most part, the female in her 20s, 30s, 40s, even 50s that is in the 20 to 30% body fat range, that wants to burn fat but can't. Is that fair? I think everybody on the call tonight will say, well, that's probably right. You know, we want to get leaner, and we'd like more muscle tone, and, you know, we want to build some muscle, but we just want to burn body fat like hot in a bikini. Guys, this is who this is for, okay? It's for women that want to look good in a bikini, but are a good 15, 20 pounds away. Maybe 8 pounds away, maybe 30. But my point is, that's what it's for. So whey protein shake isn't a disaster, but you're still woefully lacking. Next up, I've seen people say ice cream cones are good. I've seen that. Ben & Jerry's ice cream. This came off an actual, I think it was a Facebook page, of a girl that actually eats this every day. And that actually trains or writes nutritional programs for other girls. And she thinks it's okay to eat Ben & Jerry's every day. That's a problem, folks. Okay? Next up. Filthy junk sugar cereal. Now I'm going to talk more about this in a minute before we move on. Well, let me get these next few bullet points knocked out. Pop-Tarts. Pop-Tarts became really popular a couple years ago, and it's just, I don't know what's next. Debbie Cake, Dairy Queen, Blizzards, I don't know, but it's like the trendy, cool thing to eat. Well, I know why, and we'll get to that in a minute. And peanut butter and jelly sandwiches. Okay, now, what does welfare food mean? Okay, let's pause. I'm going to explain what welfare food means. Now, really the only thing here, well, we'll get to that in a minute. What is welfare food? Okay, it's food that people who are on welfare eat. That's as simple as I can make it. If you go into subsidized housing, you're going to see three main food groups in the kitchen. Number one, you're going to see some type of fruit juice drink mix. It's not going to be freshly squeezed, I promise you that. It's not even going to be natural. What you're going to see is it's usually going to be a powdered drink mix, probably Kool-Aid, or some kind of grape juice, or some kind of sugary, pre-made drink mix. You're going to see that. Number two, open the freezer, and you're going to see frozen fish sticks. I promise you, you'll see frozen fish sticks. Maybe frozen chicken fingers, but probably frozen fish sticks. And thirdly, you open the pantry, and you're going to find cereal. Now, you're not going to see shredded wheat. You're not going to see fruit and fiber. You're not going to see Rice Krispies. What you're going to see are the nasty stuff. The Captain Crunch, the Fruity Pebbles, the Fruit Loops, Captain Chocolate, or Cocoa Krispies. I forgot what they're called. But that's what you're going to see. Now, you're not going to see the premium brands like I just mentioned. You're going to see the generic brands. And you're like, well, who cares? What does that have to do with cheapness? Now, I will get to that in a minute. So what you're seeing here, guys, is the lowest... I'm sorry, let me back up, guys. Okay. You're going to see the cheapest of the cheap, the lowest of the low food groups, or food types. That's the point. That's the point. Now, we're going to touch on that again, but let's keep moving here. Okay, now, consequences of eating junk. Well, what happens if I what happens if I have ice cream post-workout? I mean, if it's low carb, if we keep the calories low, or if we have a small portion, what's the real consequence? I mean, it might not be the best thing in the world, but what can go wrong? I'm going to tell you why it's wrong and why it's so pernicious. Number one, the biggest problem of all, guys, is very few women can actually eat a small amount of ice cream, or eat a moderate amount, or cookies, or whatever else I listed. It triggers a jailbreak binge. These are trigger foods, guys, and you're going to end up mowing through it and eating it, and when you start, you can't always stop. You can't always stop. That chemical release reels. You take a gambling addict, and you walk into a casino, and you say, just play the slots for 5 minutes and you're out, play one hand of blackjack, you're out. Holmes, that ain't happening. He's going to drain his bank accounts. You take a sex addict into a pornography shop, what's going to happen? He's a dead man. You take a crystal meth addict and put him in front of a whole pile of crystal meth, don't touch it. Or just have a little bit. Just have a little bit. Holmes, he ain't going to have a little bit. I got news for you. A woman that's already unfulfilled, and we'll get to that later, and a woman that already has a powerful addiction or craving or sweet tooth, she's not going to be able to just have a little bit. So it's going to trigger a pernicious jailbreak binge. Next, type 2 diabetes. That's not very healthy. And it's a crutch to fulfillment in other areas of their life. And I'm going to get to this later, but I'm going to give you a heads up. When a woman binges, when a woman eats junk food, and especially when she binges, and she says, I have cravings. What those cravings are, not every time, but 9 times out of 10, she's having cravings because she's unfulfilled in other areas of her life. Most women don't binge when they're hungry. They binge when they have cravings. The cravings are different than hunger. Okay? They're binging because they're unfulfilled. They're lonely. Their marriage is on the rocks. Their boyfriend cheats on them. They have problems at their job. They lost their job. Their kid's sick. Their pet broke his leg. Who knows? There's a zillion things, but they're unfulfilled, and so they use this as a crutch. That's dangerous, guys. That's very dangerous. Next up. And you're like, well, what's wrong with this? I mean, well, if you have to ask what's wrong with binging, then you're out of touch. But here's the biggest problem with binging. It's a vicious cycle. Well, what do you mean? I'm going to tell you. When women binge, they don't just get back on track. They make that binge as powerful. And read my article, The Chocolate Handcuffs. The Chocolate Handcuffs for a great breakdown on that. But here's what happens, guys. Or a man binges, but women I think have a tougher time with it. When a woman binges, she has a nasty jailbreak binge. Okay. First thing she does is she's going to wake up that next morning, pop 2 fat burner thermo pills, and get on that Stairmaster, that treadmill for about an hour. Okay, she's going to punish her body as bad as she can on an empty stomach. Then she's going to eat twigs and berries for the rest of the day, and then go back to the gym later in the day to really make up for all that ground she lost, to punish her body. Because if she punishes her body bad enough, she won't binge again. She's going to teach her body a lesson. She does it again on the next day. By day 3, after 3 days of twigs and berries and double-day cardios and probably weightlifting too, and eating tuna and veggies and and rice, and a little bit of chicken, twigs and berries basically, she's ready to starve to death. And what does she do? She binges all over again. And the process, it repeats itself, then she starts purging, and it's a mess, and it's what I call wash, rinse, repeat. All because it was cool to have some Ben & Jerry's or some cereal or some ice cream post-workout. You know how many lives have been wrecked because of this? This is not funny anymore. But you know how many lives have been wrecked because of this? It's an irresponsibility. I'm warning you. Now, I'm going to be surgical in my dissection as I point by point break down the argument and the excuses and the reasons that people have given me or that I've seen given on why it's okay to eat worthless junk food post-workout. I'm going to tell you the reasons. Okay? And I'm not making fun of people. I'm giving you a point-by-point surgical dissection. Now, let me tell you why it's important. I want to emphasize this. Whenever you argue a point, don't link to another article that you didn't write. Don't pass the buck off to a journal entry or a whatever else. If you think you're an expert or a leader or a coach or an authority figure, you should be able to point by point surgically dissect or counter argue every argument you disagree with. You may concede a few points. I think I might have conceded a few points. There's nothing wrong with that. There's nothing wrong with that. What you don't want to do is name call, divert, get off topic. That doesn't win arguments. And that's not how you do it. A lot of people out there don't know how to debate. I know how to debate. And every one of my webinars, you will never see me reference another article. You'll never see me reference or refer another expert because I'm capable of doing it myself. I might list a definition of something, but not really. I can explain it. If you're an expert, explain it in your own words. And guys, I get so many people, you're mean, you're a jerk, I agree with what you said, but I don't like how you said it. Well, I'm sorry. Let me get you a box of Kleenex. Guys, I'm here to deliver tough love results, so let's get rolling with this. The first excuse I hear from people is, well, let me back up one step before I hit this, is the people that really buy into eating this junk. I'm not talking about protein shakes here. I'm talking about Pop-Tarts, peanut butter and jelly sandwiches, ice cream. The people that that buy into that, these are the people that want to try to put off or exude an outlaw or renegade mentality. They want to be the outlaw or the renegade. I mean, why else would you do it? Well, anyway, there's more reasons why, but I'm just setting the table, so to speak. Let's roll with this. Excuse number one. Well, we eat the junk food to insulin spiking and glycogen replenishment. A woman with 25% body fat, or even in her 40s, doesn't need to spike insulin levels. This lady right here, she trained with me for almost a year. She lost a foot off her waist. She's a grandmother, a granny. She lost the last thing this woman needs is to spike her insulin levels. We don't want to spike her insulin levels. And you know what? I got news for you. You can replenish muscle glycogen storage just fine eating healthy carbohydrates, black beans, brown rice, oatmeal. You don't need Fruit Loops. You really don't. That's not a better option. And you're like, well, I know. Well, there's people that think it is. Guys, we're not talking about skinny 20-year-old kids that are on a shoestring budget. We're not talking about figure girls, physique girls, or bodybuilders that are on steroids. We're not talking about them. They can get away with stuff. That's not who we're talking about. We're talking about the women that are here that need to burn body fat and are trying to that can't. That's who we're talking about. And many obese women, and she's not that young, but she's certainly did an awesome job here. She has type 2 diabetes. They don't need to spike insulin. And you know what? A lot of these people that talk about insulin and spiking insulin, and here's their argument, or it's not an argument, it's a valid point. What insulin does do is, what they say is if we eat really sugary junk food, what it'll do is it will elicit a more profound insulin response from the pancreas. And in turn, that insulin will shuttle nutrients and glucose to muscle cells. That's the science. That's the science, quote unquote, behind it, if you will. Well, that's true to an extent. But if you're a critical thinker like myself, and you understand that that is true to an extent, but there's better options, and that's not even necessary most of the time. And you know what the role of insulin is? Let me be clear for the uninitiated out there and the people that think they are initiated. Insulin, folks, is the most powerful storage hormone on the planet. A woman that's trying to burn fat, she doesn't need to release insulin. If she eats a healthy carbohydrate meal, there's going to be some insulin release. She doesn't need an overabundance of insulin release. I mean, if you're a skinny high school kid, that's a different story. We're not talking about you. Or it doesn't even have to be a high school kid. But that's the whole point. Let's roll with this. Come on, slide. Roll with me. All right. Next excuse. A couple of people in the industry who have a little more know about physiology like to take the left field approach. Well, and I love this line because my response is the obligatory "I know something you don't" line. Well, I just explained the role of insulin. I mean, and it's like, really, what exactly are you and a couple people privy to that no one else is? Well, what esoteric pursuit do you know that nobody else does? What do you know? What do you have access to that nobody else does? Well, I mean, the answer is zero. It's nothing. It's of course, there is nothing they know. There's nothing special they know. There's nothing special they're privy to, so you'll never really get a response. Or they'll dance around it, or da-da-da-da, or who knows. But I've actually seen this stuff. So the next excuse is, I just want to have a little more fun. So, let me be clear on this. If you derive fun from eating welfare food, then you're in a very bad place emotionally and socially and mentally. You're in just a bad place. I mean, am I wrong? Guys, I like pizza, but I only eat it like once every other year. I mean, I'll have a granola bar sometimes, but I'm pretty lean. You know, I'm not really trying to get leaner. I'm trying to actually gain a few pounds, to be honest with you. The point I'm making is that that's not really fun. If I want fun, I'm going to do something else. I'm not going to necessarily say what I'm going to do, but, you know, the point is that anytime eating junk food is fun, you're in a bad place. I mean, are you with me on this? Do you agree? Or am I the one that's off base here? Or do you guys agree? There, okay. That's what I thought. Let's keep rolling. It won't kill you. Oh, really? Tell that to a diabetic. I don't believe in eating 100% clean 100% of the time. Newsflash, nobody does. Nobody can eat clean 100% of the time. It's called Christmas. It's called Hanukkah. It's called Easter. It's called Thanksgiving. It might even be the 4th of July. It's a birthday. It's a graduation party. I don't think anybody's debating that. It's okay to live a little. Life is too short. Take a look at what I said for fun. If you derive that much pleasure and your enjoyment, and if you consider live life, eating junk food, ice cream, and cereal, and whatever else, you just might be in a bad place emotionally. You might be. I would rather kill a sweet tooth at a time it would make sense to. Well, now let's you're gonna love this. What is a sweet tooth? I'm gonna tell you. A sweet tooth, folks, is a craving. A sweet tooth is lingo for saying a craving. And a craving or a sweet tooth is, when do you get a sweet tooth? When do you get a craving? You get it when you're either one or two things. You're either emotionally unfulfilled, or you're poorly nourished, or you're just not eating enough, which is kind of the same as poorly nourished, or you're underfed. So if you have a craving, which is a sweet tooth, it's the same thing. If you say I have a sweet tooth, it's just like saying I have a craving. So don't try to dance around that. Then what you told me is that you're emotionally unfulfilled, or you're poorly nourished. So, which is it? You know. And you know what? If you were fulfilled in other areas of your life, or ate enough of the right foods, you would have such fulfillment. You would already have that fulfillment. Does that make sense? I could have worded that better. But what I'm trying to say is that if you eat enough healthy food and you're fulfilled in other areas of your life, you're not going to have these unfulfillment. You're not going to be taxed and burdened with the unfulfillment. So which is it? Either you're not eating enough or you're unfulfilled. I can't answer that. So, you know, if you're having cravings, if you got a sweet tooth, I got you pegged. So what do I eat pre and post workout? Now before we do this, before we move on, I want everyone to pull out a towel, and I want you to wipe the blood splattering off your computer screen and off your shirt and anything else. And I apologize, I was surgical in my approach. I surgically dissected any argument, every, 6, 7, 8, 9 different points that I've heard all over the place. People say, you know, where they defend eating junk. And I literally ripped it from head to toe. And I apologize if there's blood splattered on your computer screen. But you know what? You got to do what you got to do. And this is a tough love. This is not for the faint of heart. You know, and sometimes you got to roll up your sleeves, and you just got to keep it real. It's real talk. You know? All right. What do I eat? So what do I eat? You tell me what not to do. What do I do? Let's talk about that. Different protocol. If I'm designing a program, I'm going to use a different protocol for a different somatotype, the age, the gender, and their current body fat. When I see a photo of someone, I can ID it. Boom, right there. I know exactly what I'm going to give that person post-workout. Okay? Or pre-workout. All right? And I'm going to tell you in a minute. You're like, well, how do I figure that out? Well, you don't need to figure it out. What did I say at the start of this webinar? I am a what? If you can type this in and tell me what I said that I was, I will be very impressed with you. What did I say I was? Well, I'll refresh your memory. I'm a simplifier. I simplify things. Keep it simple. Not always easy, but we're going to keep it simple. All right, let's wrap this bad boy up. Now remember this, liquid is always superior to solid food. Now that doesn't mean a protein shake is best. Well, what do you mean? As long everything being equal, same carbs, same proteins, same calories, all things, as long as all your needs are met on an equal plane, liquid is superior. Well, why is liquid superior? I want to tell you why. Liquid is superior because liquid is absorbed in the stomach and food is digested. Which do you think is going to hit the bloodstream faster? Liquid or food? Well, it's an obvious answer. So liquid is, you want fast absorption. You don't want to, be, chewing food, swallowing food, digestion, blah, 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 blah. You want it in and out fast. You want quick hitting. And that's what liquid can provide that solid food can't. Now, solid food might be, is still a suitable option for a lot of people. Doesn't mean it's bad or wrong. I'm just, touching this point here because it is true. Okay. Now, I'm a simplifier. I'm going to keep it as simple as I can. You can't go wrong. I don't care if you're a 60-year-old woman with 40% body fat, or you're an 18-year-old female with 18% body fat. You can't go wrong with a multi-species protein powder blended together, mixed up, however you want to do it, with some fruit and some oats. Whoa, how much? Hold on. As a general rule of thumb, blueberries are my favorite, and I suggest blueberries to a lot of people. You don't need much oats. I think for a lot of folks, a quarter cup. Now hold on, this is a personal preference. I like to take, and I don't even do this lately, but in the past, I would take the protein shake. I'd mix in some ice cubes. I'd blend that. Actually, I'd shake it up in the bottle. Then I wouldn't blend it. Let me be clear, I did not blend it. Then I'd put in frozen blueberries. Then I'd put in some oats. And I'd shake it up. And I'd drink it about an hour later. And so the oats were kind of soggy or had absorbed a lot of the liquid. And they just, when you ate it with the blueberries, they weren't frozen an hour later, but they were still pretty cold. And it was a really good. Now, you might have a different taste than me. You might like a blend. That's not important. The point is that I didn't say whey. Did you see the word whey in here? No. What does multi-species mean? I'm going to tell you this right now. I'm going to tell you this. When I use the word multi-species, I'm referring to micellar casein, milk isolate, egg albumin, and hydrolyzed whey isolate all mixed up. Okay, that's what I'm referring to. So if you have that and you add in the fruit and oats that I just described, you can't go wrong with that. Now, you can go wrong if you have too much of it. Okay? If you're a 115-pound girl, you don't necessarily need all that. And some women, I'll only give them a 3/4 of a scoop of protein powder. If this is what their protocol calls for their post-workout shake. And honestly, I tell a lot of my folks, you can drink your shake during the actual session. You don't have to wait till you're done to eat it. You can actually start sipping it and drinking it while you're warming up, while you're lifting, so on and so forth. Now, what about pre-workout? I don't think I mentioned that. Pre-workout. You cannot go wrong with having a grapefruit pre-workout. You can't go wrong. You've seen me mention it a million times. A grapefruit pre-workout is very, very effective. It will kill cravings, and it will give you a quick-hitting burst of energy. It really will. It really will. And last but not... Oh, I'm going backwards here. Hold on. Okay. Now, here, guys, this won't mean a thing if you don't eat healthy the rest of the day. Remember the analogy I used? If your house is on fire, are you going to mow your lawn? Well, of course not. If you're 26% body fat and you don't even look like you exercise, but you're in the gym every day, then your post-workout shake isn't, your success isn't going to hinge on your post-workout shake. It's not going to hinge on the protein powder you take. You need to worry about the other meals of the whole rest of you need to worry about the foundation. Okay? That makes sense. It makes sense. Now, let me get a sip of water here. All right. Guys, bottom line, healthy food always wins. Guys, healthy food beats junk food every day of the week and twice on Sundays. I'm not saying you should never have a Pop-Tart if you love them. I'm not saying you should never have a piece of pizza. I'm not saying you should never have ice cream. But it's not a better option than what I've just described. If it's a holiday, you have all the cereal you want. If it's your birthday, you have all the ice cream you want. Here's the thing, though, guys. When it comes to performance and nutrition and composition and effectiveness, healthy food wins every day of the week over junk food. It is what it is.